be seated. This next song has God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, which you are probably familiar with. We invite you to sing along, but it also has a new part to the song called He Has Come For Us, and I just pray that it speaks to you this morning as we think about the purpose of why Jesus came.
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day to save us all from Satan's power when we were gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. He has come for us, this Jesus. He's the hope for all mankind. He has come for us, the Messiah, born to give us life. From God our Heavenly Father, a blessed angel came, and unto certain shepherds brought tidings of the same, how that in Bethlehem was born the Son of God by name. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. He has come for us, this Jesus. He's the hope for all mankind. He has come for us, the Messiah, born to give us life. All the angels sing hallelujah. Jesus Christ is born. All the children sing hallelujah. Jesus Christ adored. He has come for us, this Jesus. He's the hope for all mankind. He has come for us, the Messiah, born to give us life. He is born to give. All the angels sing hallelujah. Jesus Christ is born. All the children sing hallelujah. He is Christ the Lord.
And after the shepherds came to the stable, the scriptures tell us that they reported the message they were told about this child, and everyone who heard it were amazed. Let's stand together as we sing, What Child Is This?
What child is this who laid to rest on Mary's happy sleep? Who angels greet with anthems sweet, while shepherds watch o'er keep? This is Christ the
hope you had a very Merry Christmas this year, 2020. Maybe it was a little bit better than what many of your years may have been leading up to Christmas. This past week we were, just hanging out as a family, and one of the things we did, we went to go eat at a restaurant, and that seems to be kind of normal for us, probably more normal than it should be. And while we were there, my daughter looks over at one of the TV screens, and she says, "Are they playing baseball right now?" And I said, "No, that's not what's going on. What was happening was they were showing the top 100 catches in Major League Baseball from 2020." And I like those shows. I know that I'm a sports guy. I know not everybody's a sports guy, but I like to watch the top. Now, top 100 might be a little over the top, because after a while, all the catches look the same. In fact, just the few that I watched on the screen that night, there were probably, I probably watched 10 of them, and 8 of them were the outfielder running, timing it just right. He gets to the fence, he jumps, and he robs the guy of a home run and pulls it back in. And that's kind of how it works now that we're coming to the end of a year, right? We're starting to see a recap of everything that took place in 2020. So you're going to have, the top hits in football when somebody just levels somebody and probably gets called for a penalty, but whatever. You're going to see the top 50 dunks of 2020, and then you're going to move into the movies and the TV shows and those people who passed away and all that, and we're going to recap 2020 just 100 times over in a lot of different ways. And so whatever you might have missed in the year 2020, if you liked it, you're probably going to have the opportunity to see it again, because that's what happens at the end of the year. You kind of do a recap. Well, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a recap. And the reason is we've come to a breaking point in something that we had planned a while back. Over 2 years ago, I've been here now for 2.5 years, and over 2 years ago, we came to the end of a series of meetings that I had with about 25 individuals that we put together, that I collected. I just kind of brought them together because I wanted to hear their voice, and it was the 2020 Vision Team, and we set some visionary goals for the end of 2020. Well, guess where we are? We're at the end of 2020, and so I want us to kind of take a moment and look at what we did, what we talked about, where we came from, and the goals that we set. And I want us to find out, did we meet those goals? Now, this is a totally different kind of an outlook because there was a little bit of an interruption that we may have had in 2020. Maybe you've heard of COVID. I don't know if any of y'all heard that thing was out there, but it was out there. And it created this thing called a quarantine. And it really interrupted everything that was out there. And so I'm not really sure exactly how to evaluate. Do you call them successes? Do you call them failures? I mean, really, what is it? What on earth took place? Now, I don't have the answers to all those things, but I do know where we came from. I knew what our plan was, and I know the things that we accomplished and the things that we have yet to accomplish. And those are the things that I feel like it's valuable for us to be able to reestablish and to be able to look back and to be accountable for the things that we talked about wanting to accomplish before the year 2020 was over. And so some of those things we can celebrate, some of those things we can learn from, and I think that is A-okay. Now, the first thing that we talked about, in fact, I went back almost 2 years ago, and I got the exact same PowerPoint that I used almost 2 years ago to reveal what these plans were that we were going to have. And that's why you have this behind us, this legacy slide that we have, because that was what we were hoping to do, was to provide a legacy for the years following us. In other words, we're leaving something for our kids and our grandkids, and hopefully it's more than just money. Hopefully it's going to be a legacy that we establish here at Emmanuel Baptist Church. And really, through the course of that 2020 vision team, probably the most valuable thing that we came up with was exactly being able to define and to explain in a simple sentence why it is that Emmanuel Baptist Church is even here in the first place. Why is it that we are meeting in this place at this point in time? And we came up with a mission statement, and it simply reads like this. You'll see it behind me, and hopefully some of y'all can say this, even though it's been a while since we've gone over this, and that's fine. It simply says, we exist to share the love and hope of Jesus Christ with the people of Savannah and beyond so that they can become fully functioning followers of Jesus Christ. I know we've got some guests who are in here, some people who are out of town, some people who aren't part of our church, and we certainly have some people who are watching us and following us online who weren't doing that 2 years ago because we weren't broadcasting these services 2 years ago. And I just want to be honest with you. I want to be very upfront with you, but that this is what we hope for you. This is why we exist as a church. And if you're going to be coming alongside of us, or if you're listening to even one service, or certainly a series of services, this is our hope for you. We want you to be a fully functioning follower of Jesus Christ. That's the whole reason that we do this service. That's the reason we had Sunday school beforehand. That's the reason that we have the special events that we have. That's why we had our communion service this past Thursday night. We simply want people to be fully functioning followers of Jesus Christ. Now, in order to kind of sear that into our brains and to help explain what that means, to give us a visual into what that is going to look like, we kind of came up with a baseball diamond. We talked about baseball catches a few moments ago, and that looked a little bit like this. If y'all remember that, there are 4 things that it takes to be a fully functioning follower of Jesus Christ. If that's what we want people to be, what is that? How do we define that? What does it look like? And that simply means that someone is going to go from the on-deck circle that you see there, and they're going to be saved. That is going to be their conversion, their salvation experience. And then they're going to move to first base. They're going to go through a sanctifying experience where they become more and more like Jesus Christ, and they come into a greater communion with God. And then as they take off and go to second base, it's not just, when we are fully functioning followers of Jesus Christ, it's not just about our relationship with God. Not that that's not sufficient. It's that God created us for more than that. He created us for community. And so we come into a connection with other believers. And we hope that you are being connected with other believers who will encourage you in your walk with Jesus Christ. And then we take off and we're going for third base. And third base means that we're not just filling up seats. We're not just hanging out in a pew. We're not just warming a seat, even in our Sunday school class. But we're going to get involved, and we're going to have a commitment to ministry. You're going to get involved, and you're going to do something that matters to the kingdom of God. More than just kind of soaking it in, you're also going to be giving it out. And then, as I said like 1,000,000 times over, but I want to make sure that it's clear because for some reason people seem to miss out on this last point, and that is that whereas most people, at least in our culture that we live in today, in our Americanized Christianity, most people think if they have made it to third base, they're free and clear, that they are now fully functioning followers because after all, I've got an ongoing relationship with God. I know other people. I become friends, and I hang out with other people who are at the church, and I'm involved in church, and I help serve, and I'm on committees, and I get involved in this ministry and in this event, and I'm doing all this stuff here at the church, and so I must be a fully functioning follower of Jesus Christ. And that is really far, far from true. Because it's not until you get to home base, it's not until you've hit the home run that you can say, I'm a fully functioning follower. And that is when we are seeking out the conversion of the lost. Where we want to find other folks, and it might be through inviting them to church. It might be through establishing relationships with our neighbors. It might be sharing the gospel using a tract with somebody that I come in contact with at work or at school or whatever the case might be. But I want to see people be saved, and I'm taking steps to be used by God to see the lost come to an understanding of salvation through Jesus Christ. And that is what we call a fully functioning follower of Jesus Christ. And I hope that you're rounding those bases. I hope you're on the way. Now, here's the thing that you need to understand. whether you're a part of Emmanuel Baptist Church or you're part of any other church, any other Baptist church, or any other church of any denomination, here is the truth. Here is the case. This is true for you no matter where you go to church. This is for you. No matter where you are. This just happens to be the way that our mission statement is stated, and the way that we've created this baseball analogy. That just happens to be the way that we state that. That happens to be our language here at Emmanuel Baptist Church. But the truths that are involved there, you can say, well, I really don't want to be a part of all that. I don't want to hear all that. I just want to come and just do this. I don't want to do that and all that kind of. Listen, you can go through all that rigmarole that you want to, but this is stuff that the Bible is telling us. This is true no matter where you are, no matter what church you go to. This is God's plan for you. It just happens to be how we state it here at Emmanuel Baptist Church, and we hope that you will come and be a part of that, whether you can only be a part of an online community or whether you can be here at the church. Man, we want this for you. Now, we wanted to get very practical. These are some things that are theoretical. It's lovely that we're supposed to have connection with other believers. It's lovely that we want to see the conversion of the lost. But how are we going to put feet to that? And so through this 2020 planning team, we came up with 13 things, 13 goals that we wanted to accomplish by the end of 2020. 13 goals. And I just want to remind you what those 13 goals are, and we're just going to say this is how we did on it. For some of these things, we accomplished them. Some we kind of got partway there, and then a little interruption in 2020. And then there are some that we did not accomplish for whatever reason. We're not going to make excuses. We're just going to say we didn't get this goal. And so I want to share those with you just very quickly, and then we're going to make a personal application. We're going to make an application for 2021, and then we will be on our way. The first goal that we had was we wanted to develop an ongoing prayer ministry, and for 2019 and into 2020. That was happening. We had different prayer events. We had opportunities for people to be praying during this particular time on Sunday mornings during our worship services. We have a prayer room as soon as you walk out of the doors, either on that side or that side. Right around the corner there are prayer rooms, and we've had people who have been praying during our services. We had those things going. That got a little bit interrupted, but we want to pick that thing back up. The second thing we said was, we want to create a hospitality ministry. And we did that. That was one of the very first things that we did. And so if you show up early to Sunday school and you come into the Gaddy building over here, you'll see a table set up, and there were people who were out there, people who were at every single door and those kind of things. And then when the pandemic hit, there was people who were kind of nervous about, I don't want to get too close to people, I don't want to touch people, I don't want to shake hands and those kind of things. We understood all that. And so that ministry, it kind of took a hit, but there were still people who were able to be involved, and people who were still at the doors as you came in, and those kinds of things. And so that ministry is still going, and we certainly want to revisit that, and there's an opportunity for you to be involved in that. Number 3, we will broaden our understanding and use of technology, such as the church's website, social media, and platforms and services that can enhance our weekly ministries. Now, we were already heading in this direction, right? This is kind of what we were moving toward and those kind of things. And then when the pandemic hit, this is one of the things that the pandemic didn't hurt. It helped. I mean, it's one of those things that said, okay, if this is how it's going to be and people are going to have to distance and people are going to have to stay home for a little while, it was almost like get headed toward technology then. So we made some great strides when it came to our social media. Just a lot of the equipment that we had to upgrade on and those kinds of things. We really made some great strides when it came to technology. Now, that doesn't mean that we're there. We still got a long way to go. There's a lot of technology. And of course, we could catch all the way up to technology to where we are right here on December, whatever today is, 2020. And by January the 2nd, it's going to be out of date. You understand that, right? But we've made great strides. We just still have a long way to go. Number next. We will offer ongoing discipleship classes that are topic or need-based. We began that in the fall of 2019, and they went on into the winter and spring of last year. We had them the fall of this past year, and we will continue those into 2021. We've offered, so far they've only been on Sunday nights, but we're certainly open to having those on different nights as well. Next, we will develop and implement an outreach plan, strategy, or ministry. We were heading in that direction. We made some strides in some individual parts, but we don't have an overall ministry plan just yet. Hopefully we'll be able to look at those, even though the pandemic has certainly changed how people interact a great deal. Next, we'll offer periodic opportunities for believers to discover their spiritual gifts and encourage them to use those gifts in and through our church. Spiritual gifts were taught in the Sunday school curriculum that I created back in the spring and summer of this year, and then in the fall of this year, I offered a spiritual gifts class in that cross training, in those discipleship classes on Sunday night, and so those were certainly made available, and we will continue to do so. Next, we'll offer periodic training in evangelism, apologetics, and other topics that will help believers interact with an unbelieving world. Again, in the Sunday school curriculum, as well as on the Sunday night cross-training classes, we've offered classes in apologetics, how to share your faith, share Jesus without fear, those kinds of classes, and we hope to continue to do that as well. Next, we will seek ways to consistently communicate ministry needs within the church and how members can get involved. And because ministry has, at least formalized ministry through the school, through the church, because it has scaled back, that has not been as urgent a need in 2020 as it was looking like it was going to be. Next, we'll offer classes for new believers and new church members. We have not done that, and that is completely that issue is completely upon your pastor, and I hope to make strides in that in 2021. Next, we'll intentionally establish relationships with public and private schools in our area to interact with and support administrators, teachers, and students. Again, with 2020 being what it was and so many different ways that they carry out schooling back in the spring, that was interrupted, but I hope that we can re-engage in that pursuit in 2021. But that doesn't mean that we haven't made efforts. There have been schools that have desired to use our gym, to use our facilities, and we have tried to make that as accessible as possible so that we could work on those relationships with those schools. Next, we'll offer ongoing periodic family night fellowships at the church that will be open to everyone. We have not done that to this point, at least not in the spirit that was understood when the 2020 Vision team came up with that goal. Next, we will provide services to incoming college students that are practical and meaningful to them. We were in process of that going back to January. I can't remember if it was the end of January or end of February of 2020. And we had begun a ministry and reaching out to college students. It was actually beginning to show some fruit. And then they shut the school down. Kind of hard to do something about that. Now, I will tell you, for those of you who are Southern Baptist in the state of Georgia, the Georgia Baptist Mission Board is taking a it is taking a different approach to collegiate ministries that is still fleshing itself out in front of us. And so I know that Andrew is very actively working with our college ministry here at the Armstrong campus to help kind of figure out exactly where this is going to go and what impact that will have for our church. And so we're going to continue to work on that in the coming months. And then finally, we will plan and carry out local, domestic, and or international mission trips that reach lost people in lands inside and outside the city of Savannah. And that is something that we're looking at. With the delay that 2020 was, we are looking at something hopefully that will be kind of special in 2021, the summer of 2021. So these are the 13 things that we had. That is the update. That's kind of where we were. You can see that some of those things we did, some of those things we didn't do, some of those things were in process and got interrupted. That's kind of like life, right? And so what all does this mean? What does this mean for us like now? What does it mean for us as we move ahead? Let me just remind you of the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul in Philippians chapter 3, he was kind of remembering what his past was like. He was recalling what past events were going on in his life. And as he considered all that, this is what he had to say. He said, "Forgetting what lies behind and reaching forward to what lies ahead, I press on." I press on. Now that word forgetting is an interesting word. I kind of like that word. I kind of like that word being in the Bible because I'm a forgetful kind of guy, right? So, if any of you ever get mad at me, like my wife gets mad at me for forgetting stuff, I'm just being biblical, okay? So I just want to be like the Apostle Paul. That's all I can say. That word forgetting, if you were to trace that word back, the root word means to escape notice. In fact, in Hebrews chapter 13, 2 times that word is used, and it is translated neglect. To escape notice. So Paul here, he doesn't mean literally that I have no recollection of anything in the past, that I don't even think about, or that it doesn't really matter. No, he's saying what I'm going to focus on, what I'm going to really focus on is what is ahead, not what is behind. I mean, if he really meant that I have no recollection of, then most of Philippians chapter 3 that leads up to this verse wouldn't even exist. No, he's saying I'm going to take what was, I'm going to learn from it, and now I'm not going to live there, I'm going to move on. I'm going to press on, he says. I remember reading a book. I don't believe that Chuck Swindoll was the first one who said this. I don't think it originated with him, but he's the first one that I ever heard say it. He said, life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you respond to it. I like that. Now, most people don't like that because that takes away my victim mentality. That means that I'm responsible for me. You're not. But think about it. Life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you respond to it. I believe that's effective for our church. I mean, we can look back at the successes and the failures. We can look back at the interruptions and all that was going on and all the response that there was to it. And we can lump all that into a pot. But 90% of what happens to Emmanuel Baptist Church in 2021 is up to us. It's not up to 2020. It's not up to a pandemic. It's up to us. What do we do moving forward? Let me tell you what you do. Let me tell you what you do. Let me tell you what we do as a collective body. We commune with God. We connect with other believers. We commit to ministry. And we seek out the conversion of the lost. We press on. Now, exactly what is that going to look like? I don't really know. I'm not really sure. I've got a 6-month plan that's in front of us that I'll unveil it to you in the next few weeks. It's going to get there, and I'm pretty excited about what we're looking at. But I want to run that by some advisors first, some people who I'm going to gather around me to get some advice, and I want to throw that out to them and just kind of see where that goes. So that's coming. But I want you to think about not just your church life, but I want you to think about your personal life as well. Because I think this has great implications, the things that we've said and the principles that have been thrown out there, I think it has great implications for our personal lives. Did you know that in your personal life, it's about 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you respond to it? And really what your response should be in all the interruptions and all the chaos that 2020 may have been for you. And I know it was more for some than it was for others. And there was some deep, deep sorrows for some folks in 2020. And for some, it was just like some inconveniences here and there. It was different for everybody. But how do you respond to that? You press on. And what do you press on for? Well, glad to say that Paul, he finished that sentence for us. In chapter 3 and verse 14, he says, I press on toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus. So in the midst of all of what you have had to deal with in the past, continue to press on toward Christ. Pursue Him. Whatever that might mean. I can't make application to every single one of you because we've all had different experiences. Pursue Christ. Press on. Don't live in 2020. Don't let that define you. Press on in 2021 and press on toward Christ. God, we thank you for the words of Paul that give us hope for something that is new, that is out there. For many, 2020 was a trying year. It was difficult. Many, at least, inconveniences, if nothing else. And for some, it was much, much more. God, I pray that they would take that 90% that is them and that they would pursue you with everything that they've got. And for some, that's a relationship with you. That is a confession of sin and a reaching out to you as Savior and as Lord for salvation. For others, it might be growing in the faith. For others, it might be finding a place of service. For others, it might be sharing the gospel with somebody who is so desperately in need of salvation. But God, help us to pursue you. And I pray that as we do that as individuals in our individual lives and in our family lives, that spirit would also invade this church. And that Emmanuel Baptist Church, whatever lies ahead, we can't even begin to guess what 2021 was because we were so wrong about 2020. God, I pray that spirit would invade our church so that we're pursuing you at all times. And that what you have called us to do, the mission that you've called us to do, that it would not change, but that it would still define us. And that you would use us as a tool of yours to make fully functioning followers of Jesus Christ. And may it all be done to your glory. And may it look like exactly what you want it to look like, not what we want it to look like. God, thank you for bringing us together. Thank you for the gifts that you have given us and the blessings that you have sent our way. And now help us to be a blessing to the community that you've placed us in. In Jesus' name, amen.
Well, let us stand together as we close our service today. And just be encouraged that we have the greatest message to tell. No matter the circumstances, that's what we're called to do. Let's sing Go Tell It on the Mountain as we close our worship time today.
Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. While shepherds kept them watching, o'er silent flocks by night, behold, throughout the heavens there shone a holy light. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born.
Have a blessed week, and we'll see you next Sunday. You are dismissed.